Hello, friends, and welcome back to Malicious Compliance Stories. Let's kick things off with a story in which our OP's neighbor, Creeper Carl, turns his harmless drone hobby into a full-blown neighborhood surveillance scandal. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. Legally untouchable, socially unforgettable, Creeper Carl learned the hard way. There's a guy in town, let's call him Creeper Carl, who bought himself a high-end drone a few years back. It started off innocently enough. He learned to fly it, took it to the park, filmed nature stuff. That kind of hobby, when kept in bounds, is perfectly fine. But Carl didn't keep it in bounds. Instead, he started flying it around the neighborhood. At first, people figured he was just showing off his new toy. Then he started hovering it over people's homes. Not just over, but low, like window level low, peering into bedroom and living room windows low. People quickly became uncomfortable. It's not every day you glance out your upstairs window and see a camera lens aimed right back at you. Naturally, neighbors started complaining. Calls were made to the mayor's office, the police, even local drone clubs. But the response was frustrating. Technically, he wasn't breaking any laws as long as he wasn't recording audio or physically entering property. It was just annoying, creepy, but legal. The community was stuck in this weird limbo where everyone felt violated but couldn't do a thing about it. Residents tried confronting him directly. Some spoke with him politely, others were more blunt. But Carl always denied everything, claimed he only flew over his own yard, said maybe they were confusing his drone with someone else's. Never mind that his drone was a distinctive black and orange model with flashing green lights and a camera that could tilt and zoom. There weren't any others like it around. It all came to a head just the other day. Carl flew his drone over a neighbor's backyard again. This time it was a mother playing with her toddler. She looked up, startled, and realized it was the same drone that had been buzzing everyone's windows. This thing was hovering just above her fence line. No mistaking it, Carl was back at it again. Fed up, the mom took a video and posted it to Facebook, calling the behavior creepy, because, well, it was creepy. The post caught fire, dozens of locals chimed in, venting their own run-ins with the drone. Someone even tagged Carl's wife. Let's call her Denise, and asked if she could please, for the love of everything, get her husband to knock it off. Denise's response? That can't be him, he hasn't flown the drone in weeks. Cue the video. The mom who posted it replied with footage showing the drone not only hovering over her yard, but also flying across the street and landing in Carl and Denise's yard. It was unmistakable. Now, a reasonable person might apologize. They might say, "I'm so sorry, I'll talk to him about it," but not Denise. Nope, she pivoted. "Well," she wrote, "he just flew it in the yard to check the battery." Okay, sure, but the video clearly showed the drone flying over a street before landing. So again, the community pushed back. "That's not battery testing," someone replied. "That's surveillance." Denise kept digging. "It's just a hard hobby to have," she said. "He shouldn't have to drive all the way to a park just to fly it." That's when people stopped arguing and quietly began to take note. Because you see, Carl and Denise run a small produce stand in town. A lot of people shop there out of convenience, habit, or just community support. But now folks were beginning to connect the dots. The same guy creeping on neighbors with his drone, he's also the guy selling you tomatoes. Without directly saying it, the comments started shifting. "Guess I'll be making the trip to the next town over from now on. I'll be buying my strawberries elsewhere. Supporting locals great, but not when locals spying on me in my backyard." That's the thing about small towns. People remember you don't need to shout boycott when everyone knows exactly what's going on and quietly chooses to take their business elsewhere. Carl may have avoided legal consequences, but he didn't avoid social ones. His hobby ended up costing him far more than gas to the park ever would have, because when your livelihood depends on being trusted in your community, it's best not to be the guy whose drone keeps showing up in people's bedrooms. I'm wondering if you could inadvertently blast the drone with a pressure washer? You know, waving the wand around and accidentally blasting the drone. I mean, darn, electronics and water don't mix too well, and gosh, I was just cleaning my deck. Siding, driveway, gutters, roof. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. And our second story. This is my home, not your spa appointment. So this just happened about 10 minutes ago, and I'm still sitting here in shock, wondering how on earth someone could possibly mistake my flat for a beauty salon. For context, we live in a 2-story building. The ground floor is all commercial spaces. There's a doctor's office, a couple of beauty salons, that sort of thing. The second floor is entirely residential, just flats, and ours happens to be the one at the very end of a long hallway. Now, I'm currently on maternity leave with our second baby who's 6 months old, so I'm home pretty much all the time. My husband is also working from home today. I was sitting on the couch breastfeeding my daughter when I heard footsteps approaching. I didn't think anything of it at first. It's a shared hallway, and my husband often goes in and out. I figured it was him or someone just passing by. But then, out of nowhere, an elderly woman just walked straight into our living room. No knocking, no ringing the bell, just walked right in. She looks at me, breastfeeding, surrounded by children's toys, a sleeping baby in a stroller by the door, and a wall of overflowing bookshelves, and says, with total sincerity, "Beauty salon?" I was stunned. I must have looked like a deer in the headlights because it took me a second to process what she was even asking. Now I get that people hit the wrong button in the elevator all the time, mistakes happen, but once you've opened a door that you didn't knock on, stepped past a stroller, walked by a bunch of children's toys and into a very obviously lived-in flat, how do you still think you're in a salon? I gently told her that no, this was a private flat and she must be looking for the salon downstairs. She seemed just as confused as I was, apologized quickly, and turned to leave. Except she then tried to open 2 more doors before finally finding the elevator again. By that point, both of my kids were crying. The sudden intrusion had startled them, and I was trying to calm everyone down, so I didn't go after her. But now I'm second-guessing myself. She honestly seemed so disoriented that I'm wondering if I should have checked on her. Maybe made sure she got to where she needed to go safely? Also, this isn't even the first time something like this has happened. A few months back, someone else came to our door thinking it was a business, though they didn't actually come inside. I get that the elevator might land you on the wrong floor, but what I don't get is how anyone could look at our hallway or our very obviously domestic front door and think this is where they're getting their nails done. At this rate, I'm considering putting up a "not a beauty salon" sign on the door. Not admonishing you, but why is your door not locked? If it's somewhere that has a common hallway, you should have your door locked for this very reason. And our last story. Our truck got vandalized. Turned out it was the HOA. A few years ago, my dad and I lived in a modest house managed by a notoriously petty HOA, the kind that seemed to thrive on power tripping over the smallest things. We used to joke that breathing too loudly might get you a violation letter. They'd cited us for things like unapproved roof repairs we never did, grass that was too wild, and even a supposedly dirty mailbox that had been scrubbed clean the week before. One morning, we stepped outside to find my dad's old but dependable pickup truck at a shattered driver's window. No break-in attempt, nothing stolen, just a massive rock thrown through the glass. It felt weird. The truck had been parked in our driveway and nothing else in the area had been touched. We filed a police report, and oddly enough, the cops traced the rock to a house a few doors down. Problem was, there wasn't enough proof to make anything stick. We were frustrated, but tried to move on. Then, like clockwork, a letter from the HOA arrived that very same week. It claimed my dad's now damaged truck was an eyesore and would need to be removed or we'd face daily fines. The timing was too perfect to be a coincidence. It felt like someone had deliberately targeted us, and the HOA was lying in wait. A few days later, a city inspector dropped by. We were bracing for another hassle, but to our surprise, he turned out to be someone my dad knew from church. Friendly guy, very no-nonsense. He gave the truck a once-over, verified it still ran just fine, which it did, and told us not to worry. According to city code, if the vehicle was operable and registered, it was legal to keep it there, but the whole thing left a bad taste in our mouths. Suspicious, we decided to take matters into our own hands. I installed a set of cameras around the property, and I also upgraded my dash cam with continuous recording while parked, just in case. Dad joked that we were getting ready for war, and at that point, he wasn't wrong. It didn't take long for the next hit to come. We received another violation notice, this time for having a crooked mailbox. That was new. We checked it earlier that week. It had been straight as an arrow. Something felt fishy again, so I popped out the dash cam footage, and after scrubbing through hours of video, there it was. Caught clear as day on video, a man in a polo shirt with a Bentry Management logo, our HOA's contracted management company, walked up to our mailbox, yanked it to one side, just enough to make it appear off kilter, then stepped back, snapped a photo, and walked off like he'd done nothing. You could even see him smirk. It was the smoking gun we'd been waiting for. The next HOA board meeting couldn't come soon enough. My dad and I showed up early, laptop in hand, and sat right up front. The head of Bentry Management was in attendance. Let's call her Karen. When the issue of the ongoing violations came up, Karen launched into a defensive rant. She claimed her inspectors were just doing their jobs and suggested maybe we were being difficult homeowners. That's when I calmly opened my laptop, connected it to the projector, and played the dash cam clip for the room. Silence. Karen's expression drained of all color as she watched her employee commit literal vandalism on video, time-stamped and everything. The logo on his shirt was perfectly visible. A few people gasped. Some even chuckled. And then one of our neighbors, who happened to be a lawyer, stood up and said, "We've seen the same guy poking around our place too. This confirms a lot of our suspicions." Karen tried to stammer out some excuse, something about context, but the damage was done. Between the video, the testimony from other residents, and the growing hostility in the room, it was clear she had no leg to stand on. The board president finally spoke up and said, "This is a serious breach of trust. We'll be reviewing the relationship with Bentry Management immediately." About a month later, a letter arrived in our mailbox. The board thanked everyone for attending the meeting and formally announced that Karen had been let go, Bentry Management had been dropped, and the board was in the process of hiring a new company with strict guidelines for inspections and transparency. A small but satisfying victory. Not a single violation noticed since then. Nothing makes a Karen more furious than seeing her own minion on video doing her dirty work. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.